Hello again everyone and welcome to the channel. Alrighty, so another story time for you. This is a bit more of a personal story time story, talking about my experiences when I was on chemotherapy when I was a child. This was a really difficult time for me. This video is going to be split up into segments because it's looking like it's going to be a long one and I want to try to keep these shorter, so there'll be a few of these coming up. Anyways, so first off, we got more fan art. And the fan art, of course, is more ArcLight AI fan art. As I said in a previous video, not a big fan of AI art, but I like the way these look, and since it is art, it's still welcome on the channel. Anyways, so first off, we have one of Kiarza and Thea at a coffee shop, and this one I would like partly because of just the way the aesthetic is and the outside coffee shop. And also that Kiarza's glasses actually are accurate in this one. So they have that, open top part and then like the frames going around the bottom. I also like the expression on Thea's face too while she's listening to Kiarza's story, probably telling another one of those this elaborate stories of something that happened to her, and she's just sitting there like, yep, I can see that happening to you. Yeah, totally. And then we have another one of coffee shop. And this is one where they're just a little bit more excited. Kiarza is like looking directly at the camera. Not sure who took the picture on this one, but there's someone behind the camera there. I like that she's like, acknowledging that there's someone taking the photo and being like, breaking the fourth wall, kind of thing. And the way that Thea turned out in this one too is pretty nice. This one, she doesn't have like the blue hoodie like she usually has, and a bunch of the art that I've done of her and like the previous AI art. And then we also have one more of her doing her social media thing, Thea holding up her phone, waving and taking a selfie, and she's also wearing the same top as she's wearing in the previous one at the coffee shop. These two were originally the ones that ArcLight had done with the AI, and I guess the AI was having difficulty figuring out that Thea is wearing a hoodie and not a button collar shirt. So I asked ArcLight, hey, can you try to get her doing the hood, donning the hoodie, and then eventually he was able to do that with the previous art that he had done. Anyways, so on to the story. Okay, so chemotherapy as a child, you're kind of wondering probably how this went down. It was not fun. So I underwent chemotherapy because of having a benign tumor that's grown around the optic nerve of my right eye. So I can't see out of my right eye at all. Even when I went on the chemo, I couldn't see out of that eye at that time either. If you're wondering, do I still have the tumor? Yes, it's still there. It's just not growing anymore. So the chemo was, I guess, beneficial to that nature. But going through this as a young teen, because I was on it from age 14 to about age 16, it was not a fun experience for me, like, at all. Prior to that, I was having MRIs done to monitor the growth of the tumor, and since I've still continued to have MRIs to monitor the growth of the tumor, even afterward, just to make certain that it's not growing. That'll be a completely separate video all to its own. Anyways, so going through this, I experienced like a bunch of really weird things happening to my body. I was on 3 different types of chemotherapy. 2 of them were IV drip. One of them was a single injection. I can't remember the name of 2 of them. One of them was called Christine, and the reason why I remember that one is because it was the one that would make me the sickest. So after I had like the Christine, I couldn't really eat any dairy products because I just throw it back up again. Which really was upsetting because I wasn't really able to eat ice cream. I'd still do it, and then just, I feel like that the benefit was outweighed the risk when it came to that. But yeah, not a fun experience at all. Originally, I was having the IV injections into my, they'd like put my arm in a brace, and then they'd stick me with a IV needle and have an IV drip going on, and I hated having this done because it would hurt and I couldn't move my hands, made it difficult to like really do anything. I'm a gamer, as you know, and while I was at the treatment center, it was when I found out about Legend of Zelda. That's why Kiarza is wearing a Triforce beanie in the thumbnail, because, you know, it was a game I played the most when I was at the treatment center. And it got to the point where I was getting tired of getting stuck in the hands, because there was one time when one of the nurses couldn't get the IV in my veins, and they tried top of my hand, tried, you know, in my wrists, and that wasn't working. Sometimes there was this gel they would put on my hand or wrist that would kind of numb up the area to make it where I wouldn't really feel the needle being stuck into my hand, but it would take like 30 minutes to take effect. So sometimes I would still feel it, because they would get too anxious and not like want to wait the full duration to allow that to numb up my hand. So at some point I actually opted to have the Metaport put in. Now the Metaport was located under my left collarbone, and I still have the scar from that, where that was put in and then later on removed at the end of the treatment I was having. And the thing that scared me about having that done is because it's a piece of, you know, government plastic that's stuck underneath your skin, and then that Metaport hose runs through a vein that gets really, really close to your heart. So that's probably why for the longest time I just didn't want to have that done. Also, I had to have surgery to have it put in and taken out. I'll get into that in a later segment in the video or in the next video. But being on the chemo, it would make me also motion sickness came with it. So just riding in the car would make me feel sick, especially in the mountains. There was another weird thing that would happen where my joints would lock up for some reason, so I couldn't take my thumb, for example, and then try to touch my thumb to my pinky. Otherwise, my thumb would get stuck in position, and then it would start hurting like really, really bad. So I would have to grab my thumb with my one other free hand and then try to pull my thumb back up into position, and it would actually be difficult to do and also hurt while I was trying to do that. So they had to actually cut back a little bit on the chemo they were giving me because I was having that side effect. And when they did cut back on dosage, that actually corrected itself, and I wasn't having that problem anymore. The other thing that it would do was it would cause my hair to fall out. So I lost all my hair. Wherever there was hair, there was no hair. So top of my head, gone. Eyebrows, gone. Eyelashes, gone. So yeah. It was not fun at all with that, and especially going to school and having your hair fall out, and then kids making fun of you because your hair was falling out, and then not understanding why, and then when they were told what was going on, laugh, thinking it's funny. Oh yeah, you're sick here. You've got this, you know, condition that, you know, you may die from. You know, so here's the chemo. Yeah, that's a funny thing. I know. I didn't have a fun experience in school because of that, and I was even assaulted by a student because I wore a hat to class, and, you know, we weren't supposed to wear hats to class unless it was like, you know, a religious thing like a yarmulke or whatever, you know. And this kid got jealous of me because I got to wear a hat and he didn't. So when I sat down in front of him at class, he reached over his desk and he slapped me in the back of the head and knocked my hat off. I got up, picked up my hat off the floor, and then started yelling at the kid for hitting me in the back of the head. And then the teacher told me to sit down and shut up. That I was the one being rude or whatever, you know, something like that. And the kid never got disciplined by the teacher. So yeah, it was real great. Anyway, so there's a whole lot more to go on with this. But since this is going to be a really lengthy segment, I want to, like I said, split this up into shorter videos. So there's a whole lot more to cover, a bunch of other like just insane experiences, and that'll be in the next video. So if you enjoyed watching and enjoyed the fan art, want to submit your own fan art, then #ViolLovesteinFanArt. Don't use Twitter anymore, so other social media platforms are fine, like Blue Sky, for example, Instagram, or you can just email at the email in the description. Alright, so that's going to be all for this video. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe out there as always, and I'll see you later. Thank you, and bye.